Hi, this is Kendra with Truest TV, and I'm back with another video. Just some little food for thought, real quick video. Hopefully it's quick. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for like, share, and subscribing, and please hit that thumbs up, y'all. I know I'll be posting sporadically, but I only kind of do it when I get the passion to do it because I like doing it and when I'm not busy. But anyway, make sure y'all hit that thumbs up. And I wanted to just give a little food for thought real quick. Now, clearly, I love me some Pinterest, so I pulled this up on Pinterest. And I just wanted to give a little educational purpose only, little commentary on some thoughts that I were having crossing my mind about the American Indians and who we call American Indians. And I wanted to give a different perspective. Maybe not a new perspective, but a different perspective. I was watching a video from Camario Ahu. Make sure y'all go like, share, and subscribe to his channel as well, if you already haven't. And I was watching him do the documentary about Michael Jackson. And in Michael Jackson's video, he showed that Michael Jackson may have or may have not had some Mongol ancestries. And he showed a picture of a phenotype of like a Mongol Hindustan mixture type. And they allegedly were supposed to be American Indians. Now, I believe and know that Michael Jackson himself is an American Indian. But I do not believe it's because he has Mongol ancestry. So I wanted to delve into that, right? So now, if we know history, we know that the first slaves in America were the American Indian. And that the American originally applied to the copper-colored races of America, right? We also know that when the Spanish and the Portuguese came to America to colonize it, that when they wrote in their writings, from Hernandez de Soto to Balboa to even Quadrifague and Constantine Rafique, we know that a lot of times when they gave a description of the American Indian, oftentimes they said they were dark, dusky, tawny, swarthy, copper, cinnamon color, mahogany, right? To name a few of different various shades of brown. And so in that, one of the descriptions that they also had given was that the American Indians look of an Ethiopic phenotype. Now, we know that Ethiopia was once the whole name of the continent we now call Africa, right? Or Little Bighorn was also the name at something like that at one of the times. But we know Ethiopia was the name for the overall most parts of Africa before becoming just one, I believe, one country, right? It was the whole country or continent, which is we call Africa. And so, what am I getting at? Well, if you stick a Mongol in Africa, they will stand out like a sore thumb. If you stick Asian, which is also Hindustan, if you will, in Africa, even with dark hue, they would stand out, right? So here we see a picture of Nelly, who is an American man, and we got this Asiatic, I think he might be Filipino, man who looks very similar to Nelly, right? And people say, well, you know, we've heard the stories of the acclamation of African slaves being grafted in through the Trail of the Tears by so-called American Indian tribes. We hear the story of, you know, we hear those stories, right? Of the acclamation of alleged African slaves, right? Into Indian societies or European societies. But what if that's false? What if, in fact, the full blood, I remember I was talking and having a conversation, and I said this in a previous video, with a woman who was of a Mongol feature, who said that she was a Indian, a full-blood Indian. And then she asked me, and she said to me, well, if being a full-blooded American Indian, as I was saying, is to be black, then what did that make her with her Mongol features? And I told her she would be an imposter. And so what I'm getting at is, some of us so-called black people who are full-fledged American Indian, I do believe truly, may have a small percentage of Mongol ancestry or Mongol DNA. And why do I say that? Because if Michael Jackson, who is an American Indian, who is a black man clearly, has a Mongol grandfather, so they say, right? But yet he looks of the Negro sort. And yet we see very many black people who have phenotypes of the Mongol sort. So, and who might, like, I oftentimes use Brandy Norwood, right? Oftentimes you will see me use Brandy Norwood. And I use Brandy because oftentimes if you look at Brandy Norwood, to me, she looks like a Korean or any Asian woman. She looks, even Martin Luther King has a phenotype of a Mongol man. And I'll show you. Now, if you look at the features of Brandy, if you did not, she would look like your average Korean woman. If you remove the hue of complexion, she would look like a Mongol woman. Just look at her features, even in her youth, especially in her youth. She looks of a Mongol woman. You would look at her features and look at any Chinese, Vietnamese, or Korean woman, and Brandy's features will come up very much of a Asian feature. Really look at that. Okay, not just Brandy. Look at Martin Luther King. Now, people be like, he looked like a black man. To me, no, he looks Japanese. Does he not look like a mixed race Japanese man? Could you not see a Japanese man that looked just like that? He has Mongol features, nose even. Mongols have those nose. Look at Martin Luther King. Even his son has those features. His eldest daughter even had those features. If you look at Martin Luther King and you look and took a Japanese or a Chinese man, you could see how they favor very much each other. Very much so. And you ask yourself, how so that we as so-called, and they say, oh, because he's American Indian. Oh, not so. Because who said that Mongols were American Indian? But, how be it, let's go back. How be it that Michael Jackson was alleged to have had, if you see the Camario Ahu video, it says that he showed pictures of Mongol ancestors who look of the Mongol phenotype. Well, we see what Michael Jackson looked like. He looked like a Negro man, right? A so-called black man. So my perspective is, what if, you know how they gave you the story that us so-called African ancestors, right, got acclimated into Indian tribes through the Trail of Tears or through slavery? What if it was the other way around? What if these Mongols, and if you read the book Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico, from Chino to Indian, what if they were the ones who acclimated themselves into American Indian tribes that look like us? Because again, all early writings and depictions of American Indian were of a well, they said Ethiopic type, African type, right? A black person type. That's why I say alleged, because we ain't black, or we ain't African either, right? But they said as of they look of Ethiopia, they look black, they look African. But somehow you get Tonto, who looks of the Mongol sort, right? Now we're gonna go back. This is what we see nowadays. This is who they say American Indians look like. Now, if you stuck her in Africa, because they saying that the conquistadors and every other, sorry, I just need to check time. Other Indian tribe looks like her. Well, I find that funny because no early depictions said that. And if you stuck her in Ethiopia, she would stand out not just because of her features, her hair. Even though there's straight hair in Africa, the whole phenotype would stand out like a sore thumb. The whole thing, even if she had dark hue. But what do these, and it's so funny because if you look at these American Indians, they very much look like the Eskimo. That looks like the Siberian. So let's look up Eskimo. Here's an Eskimo. I mean, that Eskimo looked like a Japanese woman. Looks like a mixed Hindustan and Chinese woman, or Korean, Filipino woman. You get me? And they have dark hues. It's not like their hues are light. They're dark. And if you were to stick them in Africa, they was, even with that dark skin, they would stand out like a sore thumb. Because nobody looks like that. That phenotype is not even a small percentage of Africa. So if they saying that the American Indians look of the Ethiopic, they couldn't mean just his hue. They were talking about features. They were describing the face, the flat noses, the this, the that. And if American Indians look like Eskimos, they would have just said it. Now, you saw me show you what they say American Indian look like. Did she not look like the Eskimos that we just seen? This is supposed to be an American Indian. Now, let's go look up Siberians. The phenotype is uncanny. And we know that Asians were enslaved in America. We know this to be true. The Chinese, the Vietnamese, we knew the Filipinos, we know that they were all in America before whites came over as slaves. So I watched a video a while back when this Asian woman said she was doing a video about how they used Asians to be go against the black race, and she didn't want to be a pawn in it anymore. Something, it was on TikTok. And I realized that they have weaponized Asians against black people for quite some time. And even during the time of the Dawes Rolls Act, where there was a news article about converting the Chinese into being American Indian. And it was because a lot of these Asian tribes that had been brought here from the Philippines, right? And from Sri Lanka, Indonesia, etc., that were brought over here to America. Because even a Hindustan man would stand out in Africa. So it can't be even the Hindustan looking ones, because if you took a Hindustan man and put him in Ethiopia, you put him in Uganda, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia now, that is considered just a country, he would stand out. You could tell the difference between him. Even though there are people who resemble him, he still would stand out like a sore thumb. You get what I mean? So when you look of these tribes, even look at what they're wearing. These are Siberians. Don't the moccasins and stuff that they wear look very similar, even the patterns, to that of the so-called American Indians that you see now on reservations today? I mean, the look, the phenotype is uncanny. It's insane. So I'm here to tell you, what if maybe we need to shift our perspective and realize that the people who acclimated into Indian society was not the brown, dark-skinned, kinky, or straight-haired people, but the Mongols and the Mongol and Hindu phenotype people who acclimated themselves into our tribes. And they were, in fact, the slaves. They were the slaves who, during the time of the Trail of Tears, followed us. And they flipped the story. We know this to be true in a lot of other things. So how can we not assume that this is the same situation here? I'm just giving a little food for thought. What if these Mongols married into our family, which were full-fledged blood Indians who looked of the phenotype of black folk, and these Mongols made it into our family, took the name, got on their reservation, and took the name of our ancestors after marrying themselves in, and got there and created the Dolls Rolls Acts with the white folk, and that's exactly how they got the land. Some married in and got the name, and then continued to mate with their Mongol counterparts to give the land over to their offspring, while simultaneously writing a law out that we who are full-blooded American Indian, a so-called black people, could no longer classify that way, but only they and whites could. Just a little food for thought. This is Kendra with Truest TV. Stay up, stay blessed, put God first above all else. Peace out.